The stars outside the space station always looked cold. Ethan sat at his console tapping on the hollow screen, checking the energy levels of the reactor. He had done this job for years. It was supposed to be routine, simple work. But that night, something was different. The corridors behind him were too quiet. Usually he could hear footsteps, the hum of voices, or the laughter of crew members after a long shift. But now, silence pressed around him, almost heavy. That was when she came in. Karel. She wasn't human. Everyone on the station knew that. She was tall, with long limbs and skin that shimmered like silver dust. Her eyes glowed faint blue, never blinking, always watching. She moved in a way no human could, smooth, like water flowing without resistance. Most humans on the station kept their distance. They respected her, but they didn't understand her. Ethan was one of the few who sometimes worked side by side with her. She was calm, precise, and quiet. She rarely spoke unless she had to. That was why, when she spoke that night, Ethan froze. Her voice was soft, but it carried weight. "We should bond." Ethan blinked, then let out a short laugh. He thought maybe he misheard. Bond? What do you mean, like teamwork? Don't we already work together? Karel tilted her head. Her glowing eyes did not move away. No, I mean bond. Ethan felt a nervous smile tug at his lips. He leaned back in his chair, trying to make the moment less tense. You mean, like, friendship? Sure, I guess. I don't mind being friends. But Karel did not smile. She didn't move. She only repeated the same word. Bond. Ethan turned back to his console, pretending to focus on the data. Inside, though, he felt a little unsettled. Aliens had different customs, he reminded himself. Maybe this was just her way of saying she trusted him. Maybe it was nothing. He tried to laugh it off. Right. Okay, Karel. Whatever you say. We'll bond. She watched him for a few long seconds. Then she turned and walked away, her silver form fading into the shadows of the corridor. Ethan shook his head, muttering to himself, aliens and their weird rituals. But deep inside, a small seed of unease had already been planted. That night in his quarters, Ethan couldn't sleep. The walls of the station always made a soft humming sound, the constant thrum of engines and life support systems. But tonight the sound was broken by something else. A whisper. At first he thought it was the comm system. He rolled over on his bed, pulling the thin blanket tighter, trying to ignore it. But the whisper grew clearer. Ethan. He sat up quickly, his heart pounding. His room was empty. The lights glowed dim blue, shadows stretching across the metal walls. He rubbed his eyes. Maybe he was just tired. Maybe his mind was playing tricks. He lay back down. Then he heard it again. A voice, soft, almost inside his head. Do not resist. Ethan jumped from his bed. Who's there? He shouted. His voice echoed in the empty room. He grabbed the small plasma tool he kept on the shelf, more for comfort than for defense. Silence. He walked to the door and pressed the panel. The door slid open with a hiss. The corridor outside was empty, lit only by the red glow of emergency lights. But then, he saw her. Karel. She was standing right there in front of his door. Her body shimmered, flickering like a reflection on water. She didn't look solid. She didn't look real. But her glowing eyes were fixed on him. Ethan tightened his grip on the plasma tool. Karel, what are you doing here? How did you even get in? Her voice was calm, steady. The bond has already started. Ethan felt his stomach drop. What are you talking about? This isn't funny. She took a step closer. Her body seemed to pulse with faint light, and for a second, Ethan thought he could see through her. You agreed, she said. You did not take it seriously, but the bond has begun. Ethan shook his head, backing into his room. No, I don't know what you're talking about. This This is some kind of alien joke, right? But deep inside, he knew it wasn't, because at that very moment he felt it. A flash, a vision, not from his own mind. He saw fire. He saw a great city made of silver towers crumbling under black skies. He heard screams, voices that were not human. He felt pain that wasn't his own. And then, just as quickly, it was gone. Ethan staggered, gripping the edge of his desk to stay upright. He gasped for breath, sweat dripping from his forehead. Carell's voice echoed in his mind, even though her lips didn't move. Now, you understand. Ethan stared at her, terror filling his chest. What did you do to me? Carell looked at him, her glowing eyes softer now. We are connected, and there is no turning back. The silence in Ethan's cabin stretched, after Carell's final words. We are connected, and there is no turning back. Ethan's breath came fast, his chest rising and falling as though he had just run a marathon. His eyes darted to the door, but she was still there. Carell, glowing faintly, her outline shifting like smoke caught in light. His human brain wanted to scream, "This is not real. She can't be here. She's in her quarters 2 decks away." But his instincts told him something far stranger was happening. Ethan swallowed hard. What do you want from me? Carell's voice was calm, too calm for the situation. Want? This is not want. It is already happening. You feel it, don't you? Ethan wanted to deny it, but his body betrayed him. His skin tingled, a strange warmth spreading through his chest. His head pulsed with fragments that weren't his own. In the back of his mind, he still heard echoes of her memories. Burning, towers, endless screams, the weight of a people's sorrow. He gripped the plasma tool tighter, though it felt useless. You're in my head. Get out. Carell tilted her head slightly as though listening to something he couldn't hear. Then she stepped forward. The lights in his room flickered when she crossed the threshold. I am not in your head, she said. We are in each other's. Ethan took a step back, his shoulders hitting the wall. He cursed under his breath, wishing someone else was nearby, wishing this was all a nightmare. But when Carell raised her hand, he froze. Her fingers shimmered like glass, and for 1 second, he thought they passed right through the metal desk beside her. Not solid, not real, but still there. I didn't ask for this, Ethan whispered. No one asks, Carell replied. Her eyes glowed brighter. The bond chooses. The air felt heavier. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead, struggling to think straight. He tried to push past her, but when he moved, his body suddenly locked up. A wave of dizziness slammed into him, and then another vision. Not just a flash this time. A full scene unfolded in his mind. He was standing on a planet, beneath a burning red sky. Ships flew overhead, raining fire. He looked down, only it wasn't his own hands he saw, but Carell's glowing, slender ones. He heard voices, shouting in a language he didn't know but somehow understood. Run! Hide! The Valith are here! The memory twisted, turned, and then shattered. Ethan dropped to his knees, gasping for air. What the hell was that? Carell knelt beside him, her form flickering like static. You saw what I saw. You felt what I felt. This is the bond. I don't want your memories, he shouted. But they are yours now, she said softly. You cannot unsee them. You cannot unfeel them. The door to his cabin hissed open suddenly. Ethan flinched, scrambling to his feet. But the corridor outside was empty. No footsteps. No crew. Nothing. Just silence, and the low hum of the station. When he looked back, Carell was gone. His cabin was dark except for the faint glow of the reactor panel on his desk. Ethan's hand shook as he set down the plasma tool. He stared at the wall, half expecting her face to appear again. For a long time, nothing happened. Finally, he collapsed back onto his bed, forcing himself to breathe slowly. Maybe it was stress. Maybe he was losing his mind. But then, a voice brushed across his thoughts. Not from the room, not from the corridor, from inside him. I am still here. The next morning, Ethan walked the station halls like a ghost. Crew members passed him, nodding greetings, unaware that his world had shifted. He tried to act normal, tried to focus on his shift in the engineering bay, but his thoughts kept pulling back to Carell's words. The bond chooses. When he finally saw her across the control deck, she wasn't glowing, wasn't flickering. She looked normal, at least as normal as she ever did. Her silver skin caught the light. Her glowing eyes scanned the reactor data. She didn't even look at him. For a moment, Ethan wondered if he had imagined it all. But then, when their eyes met, a sharp jolt shot through him. A memory, hers, rushed into his mind. A child's laughter, the feeling of holding a tiny hand, then the scream of fire, the child ripped away by shadows. Ethan staggered, clutching the console for balance. Carell didn't move, didn't speak, but her voice echoed in his head. Do not resist. He glared at her across the deck, his voice, a whisper only he could hear. What did you do to me? This time her eyes softened with something almost like sadness. I saved you. You just don't know it yet. That night, Ethan locked his cabin door 3 times. He sat with his plasma tool in his lap, staring at the walls, waiting for the whispers to return. He wanted to sleep. He wanted to believe it wasn't real, but just before his eyes closed, he felt a hand, warm, not cold, brush against his. He opened his eyes. No one was there, but Carell's voice whispered in his mind again. This is only the beginning. Ethan buried his face in his hands. Whatever this bond was, it was not ending. It was only growing stronger. And deep down, a terrifying thought settled into his chest. What if she was right? Ethan could not remember the last time he slept peacefully. Every time he closed his eyes, the visions came back. Fire raining from alien skies. Cities crumbling into dust. Faces screaming. Faces that were not human, yet still felt familiar to him. Sometimes he woke up gasping, sweat running down his neck. Sometimes he woke up crying, though he did not know why. The worst part wasn't the nightmares. It was the emotions, fear, loneliness, grief. They weren't his. They belonged to Carell. And yet he felt them as if they were his own. During his shift in the reactor bay, Ethan tried to focus on his work. But when he picked up a tool, he suddenly knew it could be used differently. Not from his own training, but from her memories. His hands moved with skill he never had before, twisting the instrument in a way no human manual ever taught. The machine purred back to life with ease. The other engineers clapped him on the back. Nice work, Ethan. Didn't know you had that trick. Ethan forced a smile, but his chest tightened. That wasn't his trick. That was hers. When he glanced across the deck, Carell was watching him. Her glowing eyes didn't blink, didn't look away. She wasn't smiling, but he felt the pulse of something through the bond. Approval. He clenched his fists, wishing he could tear that connection out of his skull. Later, in the mess hall, things grew worse. Ethan sat at a table with his tray of food. He stabbed at the protein block trying to eat when suddenly a wave of taste and memory crashed over him. It wasn't his tongue. It wasn't even human food. He was tasting something sweet, soft, glowing faintly like crystal. A fruit from another world. He could hear laughter around him. Carell's people gathered under a giant tree of light. The memory was warm, safe, happy. And then, as quick as it came, it shattered. The taste turned to ash in his mouth. The fruit burned. The tree collapsed in flames. The laughter turned into screams. Ethan dropped his fork, his hands shaking. The food on his tray was untouched, but his stomach twisted as though he'd been poisoned. Hey, you okay? A crewmate asked. Ethan forced a nod. Yeah, just tired. But inside he was screaming. That night he confronted her. Carell was in the observation deck, standing alone, staring out at the dying star they orbited. The red light washed over her silver skin, making her glow like fire. Ethan marched up to her, his voice hard. You have to stop this. Carell did not look at him. I cannot. You're in my head. You're filling me with things that aren't mine. Memories, feelings, tastes, even skills. I don't want them. Finally, she turned her head. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. It is not something I control. The bond shares. Always shares. I didn't agree to this. He shouted. You did, she said simply. When you laughed, when you said the word. That was enough. Ethan's jaw tightened. His fists shook at his sides. Then break it. Whatever this is, end it. Carell shook her head slowly. If I end it, you die. And so do I. The words hit him like a punch to the chest. He stared at her, unable to breathe for a moment. You're lying. Her expression did not change. The bond ties us. If one breaks, both break. Ethan turned away, gripping the railing, staring out at the endless stars. His voice dropped to a whisper. So I'm trapped. Carell's voice was quiet, almost gentle. No, you are chosen. That night, when he returned to his quarters, the whispers were louder. Not just his name this time. Whole sentences, words in her language, words he should not understand, but somehow did. Do not fight. Trust the bond. The hunters are close. Ethan froze at the last one. His heart skipped. Hunters? He pressed his hands against his ears, but the voices were inside, not outside. That was when the alarm blared across the station. The sirens wailed, red lights flashing in every corridor. Ethan stumbled out of his cabin, nearly colliding with crew rushing past. What's happening? He shouted. Unidentified ships, someone yelled back. Approaching fast. Ethan's blood ran cold. He didn't know how, but deep inside, he already knew what ships they were. He had seen them. The Valeth. The shadow race from Carell's memories. And they were here. In the chaos, Carell appeared beside him. No one else seemed surprised to see her, but Ethan felt her presence like a weight crushing his chest. Her voice echoed in his mind, sharp and urgent. Now you understand. The bond is not a curse. It is the only way you survive. Ethan's fists clenched. His whole body trembled between fear and rage. But when he looked into her glowing eyes, he saw another. Memory, ships burning, her people dying, her own voice screaming in despair. And for the first time he understood. This bond wasn't about choice. It was about survival. The alarms kept screaming through the station. Red lights pulsed across the walls like a heartbeat gone wrong. Crew members rushed through the corridors, shouting orders, locking doors, preparing defenses. Ethan stood frozen, his breath sharp and shallow, the sound of boots, the smell of heated metal, the panic in the air. It all blurred. Because inside his mind, another sound cut through everything. Carell's voice. Calm, steady. The Valeth have come. Just as I warned you. Ethan clenched, his jaw. He wanted to shut her out, to tear her voice from his head, but no matter how loud the alarms blared, her words were louder. In the command center, the holoscreen lit up with images of the attackers. Dark ships, sharp and jagged like blades, glided through the void. Their hulls shimmered with black energy that seemed to swallow light instead of reflecting it. Unidentified vessels closing fast, the tactical officer reported. No response to our signals. Ethan felt a cold chill wash down his spine. He knew those ships. He had never seen them with his own eyes before, but through Carell's memories he recognized them instantly. The Valeth, the destroyers of her world, he whispered under his breath. They found her. Carell stood silently at the far side of the command deck. None of the humans dared approach her, but every eye flicked nervously in her direction. They knew the timing was not coincidence. The captain's voice cut like steel. Ethan, engineering needs you. Go. But Ethan didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on Carell. She didn't speak, but he felt the pulse of her thoughts against his own. They hunt my kind, but the bond hides me. Without you, I am exposed. Down in the lower deck, Ethan worked to secure the reactor systems. but his hands shook, not from the alarms or the vibration of enemy weapons striking the station's shields. It was the bond. Every time the Valeth ship fired, Ethan felt a surge of fear, not his own but Karel's. The memory of her people's final stand bled into his mind. He heard their screams. He saw the Valeth soldiers, tall and faceless, cloaked in black armor that seemed alive. He nearly dropped his tools, gasping for air. "Ethan!" one of his crew shouted. "Stay with us, man." But Ethan couldn't explain. How could he tell them that every shot against the shields was echoing inside his soul? That he felt it as if the station itself were part of his body? Later, when the emergency settled for a moment, he cornered Karel in a supply corridor. "You knew this would happen," he snapped. "That's why you bonded with me." She faced him without flinching. Her glowing eyes held a quiet truth. "Yes." Ethan's fists trembled. "So I'm just a shield for you? That's all this is?" "No." She stepped closer. Her form shimmered faintly, her presence pressing against him like invisible heat. "The bond protects me, yes, but it also protects you. If the Valeth sense me alone, they strike without mercy. If they sense me with you, they are blinded." Ethan shook his head. "Blinded? You mean they cannot track us? They cannot tear me out? As long as the bond is complete, we are safe." He stared at her, anger boiling in his chest. "You should have told me before. You should have given me a choice." Her voice lowered, heavy with something that almost sounded like sorrow. "If I had asked, would you have said yes?" Ethan opened his mouth, closed it. He had no answer. The Valeth attack grew stronger. The shields groaned. The station shook with each strike. In the chaos, Ethan felt something worse than fear. He felt a presence, not from Karel, from beyond. A cold whisper slid into his mind, sharp as broken glass. "We know you. We smell her inside you." Ethan staggered, clutching his head. His vision blurred. He saw black shapes moving in the dark, faceless creatures reaching for him. Karel's hand grabbed his arm, steadying him. Her voice rang inside his head like a bell, cutting through the darkness. "Do not listen. They cannot enter unless you allow them." Ethan gasped, his chest heaving. "They're in my head." "They are searching," she said quickly. "The bond shields us. But only if you hold firm. Do not let them see." Her words steadied him, but terror still coiled in his gut. This wasn't just an attack on the station. The Valeth were attacking him. Hours dragged like days. The crew worked without rest, repairing damage, reinforcing shields, firing back at the black ships. But Ethan could feel it. Every time the Valeth drew closer, the bond burned hotter inside him. At last, the ships retreated into the darkness, disappearing as suddenly as they had come. The alarms died. The station fell into uneasy silence. The crew celebrated survival with exhausted cheers. But Ethan didn't join them. His hands still trembled. His chest still ached with Karel's fear. She appeared beside him once more, her silver form almost blending with the dim corridor lights. "You see now," she whispered, "why we must stay connected." Ethan stared at her, his voice low and sharp. "No, what I see is that you've dragged me into your war. And now if they come again, they'll be hunting me too." Karel's glowing eyes softened, but her words were steady. "Yes, they will hunt you because now you are part of me." The attack had ended, but the station did not feel safe. Scars were everywhere. Scorched metal on the outer hull, shattered panels in the corridors, flickering lights that buzzed as if the entire place held its breath. The crew worked like restless ants, patching systems, sealing leaks, and running endless diagnostics. But whispers followed Ethan wherever he went. He felt the eyes on him when he passed in the hall. He heard the half-finished sentences when conversations stopped as soon as he entered the room. And worst of all, he felt their fear. Not through the bond, not through Karel, through the humans, his own people. It started with a small slip. During a briefing in engineering, One of the technicians asked a question about the reactor coils. Before Ethan could think, he answered, speaking words not in English, not even in human language. The sounds rolled off his tongue, smooth and strange, glowing in the air like sharp glass. The room went silent. Everyone stared. Ethan blinked, realizing, too late. Wait, I didn't... But the damage was done. The technician stepped back, his face pale. Another whispered, "That was her tongue. The aliens." Ethan tried to explain. It's nothing. Just something I picked up," but no one believed him. Later, he was pulled into the captain's office. The captain was a hard man with lines carved deep into his face from too many battles. He sat behind his desk, hands folded, eyes sharp as steel. "Ethan," he said quietly, "tell me the truth. How deep are you in this?" Ethan frowned. "In what?" "You and the alien." The captain's voice was like ice. "People say you speak her tongue. People say you see things." Ethan's stomach twisted. "That's not... I don't care about rumors." The captain cut him off. "I care about this station, and right now, I have a man under my command who might be compromised." The word hit harder than a blow. Compromised. Ethan clenched his fists. "I'm not the enemy." The captain's gaze didn't soften. "Then prove it. Because if you're a danger, I will lock you down." Ethan left the office with the weight of suspicion pressing on his back. He knew the captain meant every word. That night he tried to stay alone in his cabin, but Carell was already there. Not physically. He didn't see her standing by the door this time. No. She was in his mind, her voice brushing his thoughts, like silk. "They do not trust you," she whispered. Ethan buried his face in his hands. "No kidding. They think I'm infected." "You are not infected. You are bonded. There is a difference." He laughed bitterly. "You think they care about the difference? They're going to throw me in a cell. Maybe worse." Carell's voice darkened. "If they separate us, we both die." Ethan's head snapped up. "What?" "The bond is fragile. If they tear us apart, our life force breaks. Your death is my death." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "And if they don't separate us, what then? I just keep carrying your memories? Keep feeling your pain? Keep losing pieces of myself?" Her answer was quiet. "You will not lose yourself. You will become more." But to Ethan, it felt like chains tightening around his soul. The next day, it happened. 2 guards stopped him. In the corridor, their faces were hard, their weapons ready. "Orders from the captain," one said. "You're coming with us." Ethan's throat went dry. "Why?" "Security precaution." They grabbed his arms. He tried to pull away, but their grip was iron. Panic surged in his chest, not only his own but Carell's, bleeding through the bond. "No, do not let them." The bond flared, burning like fire in his veins. His vision blurred, and suddenly, he wasn't himself. He moved faster than he ever had before, twisting his arm free, slamming one guard into the wall. The other raised his weapon, but Ethan was already there, disarming him in a blur of motion that wasn't his own. The guards crumpled to the ground. Ethan stood over them, panting, staring at his own hands in horror. That wasn't him. That was her, her skills, her reflexes, her power flowing through his body. The corridor lights flickered. He heard the pounding of boots as more guards approached. Carell's voice filled his mind, sharp as a blade. "Run." Ethan hesitated. His whole life had been here, on this station, with these people. If he ran now, there would be no going back. But the sound of charging boots grew louder. The fear in his chest surged, mixing with Carell's own panic until it was impossible to tell whose was whose. And before he could think, his legs moved. He ran. Down the narrow corridors, through maintenance shafts. His body carried him with impossible speed. The alarms blared again, this time chasing only him. "Contain him," voices shouted. "Do not let him reach the alien." Ethan's breath burned. His heart raced. But even as fear threatened to crush him, A strange calm held him steady. Carell's voice whispered inside him, soft, certain. "Do not fear. I am with you, always." And deep inside, Ethan knew the truth. The humans no longer trusted him. The station was no longer his home. He was bonded to her now. And there was no way back. Ethan ran until his lungs burned. The station's corridors twisted around him like a maze. Red lights flashed across his vision, alarms still wailing from the lockdown. He ducked into a maintenance shaft, heart pounding, trying to catch his breath. For a moment, silence. Then her voice, soft inside his mind. "You cannot hide from them, but you can always find me." Ethan pressed his back against the cold wall, sweat dripping down his face. "You don't get it. They think I'm one of you now. They'll never let me go." "That is because you are," Carol said calmly. "You are mine, and I am yours." The words sent a shiver down his spine. He wanted to scream at her, to demand she take it all back. But deep down, a part of him already knew the truth. There was no undoing this. Footsteps clanged through the metal corridor above. Guards. Searching. Ethan clenched his fists, forcing himself deeper into the shadows. His chest rose and fell, his pulse loud in his ears. Then, out of nowhere, a hand touched his shoulder. He spun, ready to strike, only to freeze. Carell stood behind him, but this time, she was different. Her silver skin glowed brighter than ever, her form shimmering like glass filled with fire. She wasn't solid, she wasn't even flesh. Her body was made of light. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. What are you?" She stepped closer, her glow filling the narrow shaft. The air buzzed with strange energy. Her eyes, burning, blue, locked onto his. "This is what I am," she said. Her voice was both in his ears and inside his head. "What I have always been. The shape you knew before was only a shell." Ethan shook his head, backing away. "You're not even real." "I am real," she said. "Just not as you understand." Her hand, if it could be called a hand, reached toward him. Ethan flinched, but when her glowing fingers touched his chest, warmth spread through him, soothing, steady. "This is the bond," she whispered. "It is not sickness. It is not a curse. It is life force, shared between two beings. My kind cannot survive alone anymore. We need an anchor, a vessel, a partner." Her glowing form brightened. "You are my partner." Ethan felt his knees weaken. He pressed against the wall for balance. "You used me. You tied me to you without asking." Carell's eyes dimmed, almost like sadness. "I had no choice. My people are gone. The hunters are many. Without the bond, I would fade." Her words struck like a blade. Ethan wanted to hate her, but something in her voice stopped him. It wasn't manipulation, it was desperation. He saw flashes in his mind, memories she didn't try to hide. Her people's last gathering under a burning sky. The moment she reached, for another of her kind, only to feel them die in her arms. The endless silence that followed. Loneliness so deep it crushed the soul. Ethan swallowed hard. His anger softened, but fear still clawed at him. "And what happens to me? What does this bond do to me?" Her glowing hand pressed harder against his chest. "It makes you more, stronger, faster, sharper, my essence inside you, your strength inside me. We are two, but also one." Ethan's heart pounded. He remembered the fight with the guards, how his body moved with impossible speed. He remembered the alien language spilling from his mouth without thought, pieces of himself slipping away. Or changing. He looked into her eyes. "And if I fight it?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Then we both die." The sound of boots echoed closer. The guards were coming. Ethan's mind raced. He could surrender, let them drag him away. Maybe they'd separate him from her, maybe they'd kill her, maybe they'd kill him, or he could accept it. He could accept her. Carell leaned closer, her glowing form almost merging with him. Her voice pulsed through the bond. "Trust me, Complete the bond, only then will we survive. Ethan's chest tightened. His human instincts screamed to resist. But another voice, his own, yet not his own, rose inside him. What if she's right? What if this is the only way? The bootsteps grew louder. Carell's hand pressed against his heart, her eyes burning brighter. Choose now. The shaft door burst open. Guards shouted, weapons raised, and in that moment Ethan made his choice. He reached up, gripping Carell's glowing hand against his chest. Fine, he whispered. I trust you. The world exploded in light. His body burned, not with pain, but with energy. Every cell felt alive, every nerve buzzing with power. His vision split, half his own eyes, half hers. He saw the guards rushing forward, saw their fear, their doubt, their hesitation. He saw it all at once. And then he moved. Not as Ethan. Not as Carell. As both. In a blur, he disarmed the first guard, slammed the second to the ground, dodged blasts of plasma like he could see the future. His movements were too fast, too precise, too perfect to be human. When it ended, the guards lay groaning on the floor. Ethan stood in the center of the shaft, chest heaving, eyes glowing faint blue. Carell stood beside him, her form calmer now, dimmer, almost hidden inside his shadow. Her voice filled him. Now the bond is complete. Ethan stared at his own hands, glowing faintly with the same light as hers. And for the first time, he understood. He wasn't just Ethan anymore. He was something else. Something more. The station was not silent for long. The Valeth returned. This time there was no warning, no slow approach. Their black ships tore out of the void like knives, striking before the crew could even react. Explosions rocked the hull. Fire rolled through the corridors. Sirens wailed like screams. Ethan stood in the chaos, the bond thrumming inside his chest like a second heart. Every strike against the station sent a pulse through him. Fear, rage, urgency, not only his own. Carell's too. She appeared beside him, her form glowing faintly in the red emergency light. Now you see, they will not stop until we are both gone. Ethan clenched his fists. His hands glowed faint blue. He felt her inside him, her strength laced through his blood. Then we fight, he whispered. The crew rushed through the decks, shouting orders. The captain's voice boomed through the comm system. All hands, prepare for boarding. The enemy is coming inside. Ethan knew it was true before the words even reached his ears. He felt it, like claws scratching at the edge of his mind. The Valeth were close. Dark shapes broke through the hull. Shadows poured into the corridors. The Valeth warriors stepped out, tall, faceless, armored in living black metal that shifted like smoke. Their weapons pulsed with strange energy. The crew fired plasma rifles, but the shadow swallowed the bolts. The Valeth kept moving, silent and relentless. Panic spread. Ethan stepped forward. The first Valeth raised its weapon, aiming at a group of crew. Before it fired, Ethan moved, his body blurred, faster than human, sharper than human. His hand snapped out, tearing the weapon away. He struck once, and the creature staggered back, black smoke spilling from its armor. The crew froze, staring. Ethan's eyes glowed faint blue. His voice echoed with Carell's. Stay behind me. More Valeth surged forward. Ethan didn't hesitate. The bond guided his every move. He ducked, struck, rolled, twisted, every motion flowing like water, every strike precise. Plasma fire hissed past, but he saw where it would land before it fired. He was moving with two minds, two sets of instincts. The Valeth faltered. For the first time they hesitated. The crew stared in shock. The captain arrived, weapon in hand. He froze when he saw Ethan glowing, fighting like something not human. For a heartbeat, the captain's finger tightened on the trigger. But then another explosion ripped through the deck, shaking the floor. More Valeth poured in. The captain made his choice. Ethan, he shouted. Hold the line. Ethan nodded once. No more suspicion. No more doubt. At least for now, they needed him. The battle raged. Ethan and Karel fought as one. Her light pulsed through his veins, his human strength carrying her essence. Together they were faster, stronger, deadlier than either alone. Every time a Valith soldier fell, Ethan felt their rage scrape against his skull. They hissed into his mind, trying to claw into the bond. You do not belong to her. You are ours. Give her up, give her to us. But Karel's voice thundered louder inside him. Do not listen, trust me, trust us. He pushed them out, his will burning against theirs. At last, the surviving Valith pulled back. Their ships fired one final blast before retreating into the void. The station shook, groaning, but it held. Silence fell across the decks. Smoke drifted through the air. The crew, bloody and exhausted, stood staring at Ethan. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide. Some looked grateful. Some looked afraid. The captain stepped forward. His gaze locked on Ethan's glowing eyes. You're not the same anymore, he said quietly. Ethan didn't deny it. He couldn't. His hands still pulsed, faint blue. His breath still carried Karel's rhythm. No, Ethan said. I'm not. Later in the observation deck, Ethan stood alone, staring out at the ruined star. His reflection glowed faintly against the glass. Karel appeared beside him, her form calm now, her light dim but steady. They will come again, she said. Ethan nodded slowly. I know. They will not stop until I am destroyed. Until we are destroyed. Ethan clenched his fists, watching the stars. Then we don't let them. Karel's eyes glowed softly. Together. Ethan glanced at her. For the first time, he didn't see her as alien, he saw her as part of him. Together, he echoed. But as the silence settled, the bond pulsed again. A whisper. Not Karel's this time. This is only the beginning. Ethan's breath caught. His head snapped up, scanning the stars. The Valith were gone. But someone else was out there, watching, waiting. The bond inside him tightened like a warning, and Ethan understood with a weight that sank deep into his chest. This battle wasn't the end. It was the start of something much bigger.